stringent National Security Act. The NSA allows for long preventive detention without bail. Sources say that Sonam Wangchuk has been taken to a Jodhpur jail now and he will be lodged there. For the NDA, Sonam Wangchuk is the villain of this story. He is the one who made provocative statements to incite. His references to the Gen Z protests like we saw in Nepal or in Bangladesh, or the Arab Spring reference that he made, that was the provocation that was needed to instigate this violence. The NDA is very clear. The BJP believes that he instigated the mob during his hunger strike, and the minute there was violence, when he realized that the situation had gone completely out of hand, he decided to call his hunger strike off and leave that protest site. Another allegation that has been made against him, for which the FIR was filed and now he has been arrested, is that the timing of it all, that it was a deliberate attempt by Sonam Wangchuk to sabotage the process of dialogue and negotiation that has been ongoing between the centre and the stakeholders in Ladakh. Add to that the allegations of financial irregularities against him. The Union Ministry of Home Affairs yesterday cancelled his NGO's FCRA license. In its findings, the Home Ministry revealed that Wangchuk's NGO, SecMol, received foreign funds in the financial year of 2021-2022. This was for studies of sovereignty of the country, among other topics that aligned with foreign donors' objectives. Centre's action came after a show cause notice was first issued, as is the process that's followed to Wangchuk's NGO. That show cause was issued on the 20th of August this year. It was followed up by an email on September 10th asking why the NGO's FCRA registration should not be cancelled. In its response, Wangchuk's NGO said that these funds were utilized strictly in line with the organization's objectives and for the specific purposes allocated. But the MHA ruled that receiving donations for studying sovereignty is against the national interest of this country, and that calls for action, which means the FCRA license to his NGO will be cancelled, and that is exactly why the action was taken yesterday.
In a strict action against Sonam Wangchuk, environmental activist from Ladakh who was sitting on hunger strike and post his strike when protests turned violent and led to arson and clashes, Sonam Wangchuk was detained under NSA by the government after he tried to create ruckus and unrest in a sensitive place like Ladakh, which borders China as well as Pakistan. The centre is for sure trying to ensure that the place remains stable while engaging in talks with the groups from Ladakh, from both Leh and Kargil, and to ensure the rights are given to people of Ladakh. But they feel, sources indicate, that Sonam Wangchuk has given several provocative speeches, included about Gen Z, referring to Nepal protests, and Arab Spring style protests, which he has been referring to at multiple occasions, which triggered this kind of arson and protests and instability in Ladakh. And Ladakh cannot have such kind of instability. His NGO has also come under a tight lens of the agencies. The CBI and other agencies are also investigating his role and his funding, that he has also transferred some money from his NGO account to his personal account, and how he has been using the money and where all he has been getting money from. So all of this is being checked, reviewed, and the centre is ensuring that while there is Vikas and development push in Ladakh, that they are able to ensure that Ladakh remains peaceful without any sort of situation deteriorating on the ground.
Sonam Wangchuk was arrested this afternoon. He was set to address a press conference at about 2:30 p.m. but didn't show up, and that triggered speculation, which eventually led to the confirmation of his arrest. But his arrest has now triggered a political furor. Many within the opposition are claiming that he's being scapegoated by the central government. In fact, JNK Chief Minister Omar Abdullah said that the BJP was unable to take the people of Ladakh along, that promises were made to them, much like they were made to Jammu and Kashmir, but the centre hadn't delivered on those promises, which is why they were now making up excuses for their failure. Listen in to what Omar Abdullah had to say.
चलिए अफसोस की बात है, लेकिन जिस तरह मरकज की हुकूमत कल से उनके पीछे पड़ी हुई थी, शायद ये लग ही रहा था कि इस तरह का वो करेंगे। देना उन लोगों के साथ कुछ वादे हुए जिस तरह हमारे साथ हुए। अब समझ में नहीं आता मरकज की हुकूमत की क्या मजबूरी है कि वादे करने के बाद वो उन वादों से मुकर जाते हैं।
Let's open this up. National spokesperson of the BJP, Pradeep Bhandari, is with us. Salman Soz, national spokesperson of the Congress, joins us as well. Salman Soz, let me ask you, why is it that the opposition believes that Sonam Wangchuk is being made a patsy, a scapegoat in this entire case?
Well, I think the entire country thinks that this person is being made the scapegoat. The fact of the matter is that the BJP, in its own manifesto, by the way, in 2019, here's their then MP, who became an MP, this young man, Namgyal. He issued promises, BJP promises, on the sixth schedule for the people of Ladakh. You make promises, you don't keep them, you keep talking, you keep dragging people along with you. How long is this going to continue? This has been I know the people of Ladakh. I mean, they were part of Jammu and Kashmir. We lived together. I would say in great harmony, but very peaceful people, peace-loving, nice people who care for their culture, care for their heritage, care for their environment. And here we have a situation where the government of India, the central government basically, is simply not willing to do what it has told the people of Ladakh, promised the people of Ladakh. I don't know why it is taking this government so long to deliver on these promises. And innocent people have gotten killed. I mean, 4 people were just killed. It's unfortunate. And I don't think these guys have any answers. I think they, quite frankly, I don't really know somebody asked me a question today. They said, who does the BJP really care for? I don't know. Not for the people of India. They seem to care for other people, but not for the people of India. Because if you care for your own people, then you will be listening to what they have to say. You listen to their genuine demands, and you will actually follow through on what you promised them. I don't think that has happened, and the result is like Manipur. Manipur has been in great trouble, and now here we have a situation where Ladakh, I hope it doesn't get to that stage, and I hope people peacefully seek redressal of their rights. But beyond that, I think the BJP is...
But Salman Soos, as far as engagements from the centre are concerned, that's been going on. In fact, just yesterday and today we had a special meeting that was held. There was a meeting that was scheduled to be held on the 6th of October. So engagements from the central side are happening.
I'm sorry. If the BJP can abrogate Article 370 in one go without telling anybody else, why does it take them 6 years to actually talk about the sixth schedule? I mean, these people, this is a tribal area. What is the problem? The opposition is for it. The BJP promised it. The people of Ladakh want it. What is the problem, Prime Minister Modi? What is the problem? Can you not make a decision? Are you so indecisive? Are you so weak that you cannot make a decision? I ask you. What is this?
Pradeep Bhandari, why is the BJP making promises and not delivering on them? And then blaming somebody like Sonam Wangchuk and laying the blame squarely and solely at his doorstep?
Well, first of all, we do not need lectures from the Congress party, which is an anti-national party. And here, if you recall, this is 17th of April 2014, Saifuddin Soos. He says that the UT status for Ladakh was never part of the Congress manifesto. For 70 years, despite the Congress MP raising the demand first in 1955, the Congress party did not give the UT status for Ladakh. It is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government which has given. We are speaking to the people of Ladakh. This is why the representation for the tribals has increased from 45% to 84%. Bhoti, Purgi and other have been declared as official languages, and there have been series of meetings on other demand. And the people of Ladakh are with us, and they are completely connected with us. Now, seeing this, the Congress party and its extended ecosystem has a problem. Sonam Wangchuk is not a normal climate activist. He is a man who in the past has been seen of speaking about plebiscite in Jammu and Kashmir. He has been a man who's in the past spoken about Arab offspring type of situation. And in fact, it was the Congress party itself in 2007 when the Congress was in power. The district magistrate of Ladakh had written a letter to the Congress party in centre that Sonam Wangchuk's NGO was involved in certain anti-national activities and for diverting funds which were not involved for any seva bhav. And this is where the action has been taken. So I ask you that does anybody get a license to riot and burn the CRPF vehicle and put the entire street on fire just because someone is a climate activist? Absolutely not. Till yesterday they were asking that why are we not getting the situation under control. Now the main individual who is responsible for inciting, we've got him under the NSA, and there will be further action which is taken. So please differentiate between people of Ladakh and Sonam Wangchuk, and he is not a normal individual. Why? If you recall, in 2004, in the past, it is Sonam Wangchuk's father has fought on a Congress ticket, and in 2007 to 10, he was also involved with in a project with government of Nepal. So yes, the MHA is studying about it, because no normal NGO will want to study the sovereignty of the country, and we've seen these patterns in other foreign countries, how a toolkit is emerged where an NGO is put as a front, and then later it is used to incite people. So this has been clipped, and I believe that the Congress party, by supporting Sonam Wangchuk, has given a pattern. They had also supported likes of Sharjeel Imam, they've supported likes of Umar Khalid, where even international NGOs like Amnesty had come, where Delhi riots was a pre-planned riots. So yes, what has happened in Leh is not something which is instantaneous. It is pre-planned, and the investigative agencies are taking the due action with respect to the demands of the people of Ladakh. Already a special investigation team and an envoy has been dispatched, and the talks are ongoing. Like we abrogated Article 370, like we gave the UT status to Ladakh, we will do the required which is needed.
But Pradeep, the timing of it is suspect, is what many say, that there's a CBI investigation that has been going on for the last 2 years. It's still in the preliminary inquiry stage. There is no FIR that has been filed. The fact that this FCRI license was cancelled just a day after violence broke out there, which is why the opposition says that this looks like it was pre-planned.
Well, Poonam, we have cancelled more than 20,000 FCRA licenses of various NGOs which the government has got and the investigative agencies believe were involved in anti-national act. Now, please note this, the Sonam Wangchuk was on radar for sure, but the Supreme Court guidelines suggest that you cannot arrest an individual merely on the basis of insightful statements. You need insightful statements leading to violence. So what happened in Ladakh was that tipping point where his statements led to violence, and on September 24th, he surreptitiously and coincidentally ended his hunger strike, and rather than coming and ensuring that the protesters do not move further and arson the CRPF vehicle, Mr. Wangchuk was absent. And if he's used terms like Gen Z type revolution which is seen in Nepal, so this is where we say that there is a larger ploy and a plot for which investigation is necessary. This is why Mr. Wangchuk has been booked under NSA. No climate activist, whether global or national, has a right to riot and arson. The investigative agencies are doing their due process, and we will not lead to a situation where an anarchy is taken forward on the streets of India or on the streets of Ladakh by these anti-national elements.
Sure. So Salman Soz, why not wait before the investigation is concluded before we jump to conclusions? Let the investigation take place. As far as the FCRA and financial irregularities allegations are concerned, this sovereignty bit of why funds were taken from a Swedish organization for studying sovereignty, Sonam Wangchuk's organization has not denied any of those. They've in fact gone on to say that yes, we did and we were well within our norms.
Well, first of all, let me talk about the BJP spokesperson. I mean, I don't want to Google him because I know that if people just Google him, they'll find a lot of nasty stuff there. But let me just address some of the things that he talked about. He talked about the Congress party being anti-national. The freedom that he has right now is thanks to our party, not because of the RSS and the BJP.
No, it is not thanks to your party, my dear friend.
Let's not interrupt each other. Please, I'll give everyone their time.
And just stick in your lane, okay?
Go ahead, Mr. Salman.
BJP people, as everybody in the country now knows.
Let's not.
Stop calling people anti-national. Don't come
Salman Soz and Pradeep Bhandari, I request both of you, please, let's not call each other names. Let's not digress from what we are discussing here, please. It's a request to both of you, please. Let's stick to the subject. Let's not digress. Salman Soz, please go ahead, make your point.
I'm sorry, the BJP has basically become a Sikh party. Sikh. They will brand everybody anti-national. There will come a time when people will get so sick and tired of them that they've almost got kicked out in the last election. They're so arrogant.
Sure, and that's the power of democracy. And that's the power of democracy for whichever party is the recipient of it. But let's come back to the subject at hand, please.
Democracy does not mean you call everybody anti-national.
Sure.
Basically, that is not democracy. That is stupidity. That is the arrogance that BJP has. Now, they will talk about 2014 mein ye hua, 2007 mein hua, Nehru ji ne ye bol diya, but they will not talk about what people want to know. People want to know if this gentleman, Sonam Wangchuk, who, by the way, praised Prime Minister Modi when Article 370 was abrogated, said that you have fulfilled one very key demand of the Ladakhi people. If he did something wrong, if the Home Ministry or whoever said that in 2021 they did something wrong, why does this government, this slow government, this weak government, why does it take them 5 years to act or 4 years to act in this particular case? And they act immediately on the day there is some problem in Ladakh. Now you said,
but the show cause notice was not sent yesterday. The show cause notice was sent in August.
But
the reply came in on 10th of September, and the cancellation happened yesterday.
Yes. But between 2021 and 2024, there's a lot of time that has passed. Okay? They did not do anything. That is what I mean. The BJP's modus operandi is basically that they will hold things against you. They can, even you as an individual, as a citizen, they will have something which is nothing. Process is the punishment. Process is the punishment. You will see what will happen to this gentleman, Sonam Wangchuk. They will just keep him in this indefinite purgatory, and that's their model. And then they'll send these BJP people. They'll say this guy was doing something on Nepal. This guy was doing something with ISI. This guy was doing something with China. These people are doing something with international NGOs. That is what they do every time. But nobody will answer. Why did you promise? I asked this question to the gentleman sitting right in front of us. Why did they promise in their manifesto to the people of Ladakh that the 6th schedule of the Constitution would be applied to Ladakh? Please answer that.
But they're not saying that they won't. There are negotiations that are currently underway on that front.
No. Sorry. No. This is absolutely wrong. What negotiations? BJP promised something. Congress supports it. The people of Ladakh want it. What negotiations? Tell me. What negotiations?
Pradeep Bhandari?
Mr. Soos, had you understood the art of negotiation, you would have given the UT status after 70 years being in power. You do not understand the art of negotiation. You only understand the art of negotiation with terrorists like Yasin Malik and Hafiz Saeed. That's what you are very good at doing. So do not lecture us. And I will again reiterate, yes, you are an anti-national party because the terrorists like Hafiz Saeed calls you their ideological mentor. So please, Mr. Soos, stop getting very edgy. You are an anti-national party because after 26/11 you did not attack Pakistan. You were trying to give clean sheet to Pakistan. Yes, you are an anti-national party because Rahul Gandhi says that you want to fight the Indian state. So that is our belief, and that is what the people of India also believe. That's why you're sitting in opposition. So you have arrogance, not us. We are doing Seva Bhav, not
sure,
you.
But Pradeep, let's come back to the point at hand. Let's come back to the point at hand.
No, he used
Sure.
personal loaded objectives.
Sure, let's come back.
Answer the question.
Of course, and that is why I asked him, and that's why I asked both of you to stick to the subject at hand. Please, Pradeep, go ahead.
My limited submission is the following. If our intention was not to listen to the people of Ladakh, how is it that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has given UT status which Congress could not do in 70 years? If our intention was not to listen to the people of Ladakh, how is it that the ST reservation has increased from 45% to 84%, which none of the Congress governments could do it? So negotiation and dialogue is a process, and we will implement everything in consultation with people of Ladakh. Now there is an individual, Sonam Wangchuk, and the Congress party's ideological mentors who are trying to stop the dialogue process. This is why there was a scheduled dialogue process on the 6th. Why was the violence happening on just before the 6th when the dialogue was taking place with the center? Why are you vandalizing the Bharatiya Janata Party office? Why is it the Congress councillors and the leaders coming a day before in the press conference saying that even the CRPF, if they come between, they will put stones in their hand and throw at the CRPF vehicle? Is this not anarchy? Then what else is anarchy? This is exactly a ploy and a pattern. And if you believe that
anarchy should be punished, isn't it? Irrespective of who it is. Salman Soos, last 30 seconds, please.
And I just want to caution the BJP spokesperson before he talks about any Congress leader, because today I know that some BJP spokesperson, some other one, spoke about a Congress councillor in Ladakh and basically made false allegations, totally false allegations about that person. There are going to be cases against them on defamation. So I want him to be careful not to go there. Now, as far as my
dear friend, you did a press conference a day before. Do not threaten with me legal.
Pradeep Bhandari, just a second, please. I have very limited time. Let Salman Soos finish, please.
Before I get your arrogance out of the way, The
Mr.
point here
Sosgoy.
is, the point is, the people of the country watching the show saw that the BJP spokesperson simply had no answer to one simple question, which is actually at the heart of what is happening in Ladakh. And that is, if the BJP promised the people of Ladakh the 6th schedule, the Congress party and the opposition support that, and the people of Ladakh want that, why is the Prime Minister, who claims to be a decisive Prime Minister, unable to deliver this simple thing that he promised?
Sure, but does that
That's
give
it.
anyone the license to take law into their own hands?
Of
Because
course not,
what we saw
but
in
for 6
what we
years
saw
they've
in
been-
Leh 2
Your
days
father
ago
gave
is
clean
not
chit to
is not
Pakistan.
something
they've been
that.
peacefully protesting. For 6 years they've been peacefully
So then, what happened
protesting.
2 days ago? That's exactly what is
2
being
days,
investigated,
you're
isn't
talking
it?
about- Are you negating 6 years of peaceful protest?
Absolutely
because
not.
some lumpen
Absolutely
elements
not.
do damage? You're saying that to some lumpen elements
Allow
do
me
damage?
10
Absolutely
seconds,
not.
please.
All I'm saying is that
These people have
irrespective of
suffered,
who is
they've struggled.
involved,
We
that
need to
person, if
support peaceful
responsible and
protest.
if guilty, should be held to book. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely. Those who commit violence should be held accountable.
Poonam,
But absolutely.
I do not need, and our
Absolutely.
government
But
does not
so
need
should the
lectures
government or
from
should
the
be
gentleman
making-
out here.
Sure,
whose
accountability
father was giving
is
a clean
needed.
chit to
Sure,
Pakistan
accountability
on
is
terror.
required.
I'm
Whether
not
it's
sure
Sonam
Pakistan,
Wangchuk or
Pakistan,
anybody else
Pakistan.
that's involved, if found guilty, then they should be brought to book. And I have to leave it there. But we do hope that we do not see a repeat of what we did 2 days ago in Ladakh, which has been relatively peaceful, like Salman was also pointing out, for the last 6 years. But I thank you both gentlemen for joining us here on Tacks. Shifting focus now, India's first supersonic jet, the MiG-21, its glorious service to the Indian Armed Forces ended today after 6 decades. At the decommissioning ceremony, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh summed up why the MiG-21 remains etched in India's collective memory. It has stood witness to many an acts of bravery, from the 1971 war to the Kargil conflict, from the Balakot airstrike to Operation Sindoor. There has not been a single moment when the MiG-21 did not provide tremendous strength to our forces. At its farewell in Chandigarh today, that legacy was honoured with a ceremonial flypast. There were MiG-21s, Jaguars, the Surya Kiran acrobatic team as well, a simulated dogfight recalling Balakot, and the symbolic handover of the aircraft's logbook to Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. For the Air Force and for generations who watched MiG's silhouette dominate India's skies, this was more than a retirement ceremony. It was the end of an era for India's most enduring warrior.
MiG-21 केवल एक एयरक्राफ्ट या मशीन भर ही नहीं है, बल्कि यह भारत और रशिया के बीच गहरे संबंधों का एक प्रमाण भी है। साथियों, एक तरफ तो मिलिट्री एविएशन का खुद का जो इतिहास है वह अपने आप में इनक्रेडिबल है ही, दूसरी तरफ MiG-21 ने मिलिट्री एविएशन की जर्नी में कई और प्राउड मोमेंट्स यानी गौरव के क्षण जोड़े हैं। MiG-21 अनेक वीरतापूर्ण कृत्यों का साक्षी रहा है। इसका योगदान किसी एक घटना तक या केवल एक युद्ध तक सीमित नहीं रहा है। 1971 के वार से लेकर कारगिल के युद्ध तक या फिर बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक से लेकर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर तक ऐसा कोई क्षण नहीं रहा जब MiG-21 ने हमारी आर्म फोर्सेस को जबरदस्त मजबूती न प्रदान की हो। हम सबके लिए यह सिर्फ एक फाइटर जेट नहीं बल्कि एक फैमिली मेंबर जैसा है मेरे साथियों, जिसके साथ हमारा अटैचमेंट बहुत ही गहरा है। MiG-21 ने हमारे कॉन्फिडेंस को शेप किया है, हमारी स्ट्रेटजी को इसने मजबूत किया है और हमें ग्लोबल स्टेज पर स्थापित करने में हमारी मदद की है।
US President Donald Trump has announced 100% tariffs on branded and patented pharmaceutical products starting October 1st. This move comes amid the ongoing trade negotiations between India and United States. Now, Indian drug makers, major suppliers of generic drugs to the United States, are likely to be impacted. India's exports to the United States stand at about $8.73 billion. That is just annually. So what exactly could the impact on India be? Here's what it could have an impact on: that it may significantly reduce export revenues for Indian drug makers, that the trade volume is at disruption risk. It could impact overall pharma export growth as well. Top Indian firms may lose their market share due to these tariff-driven prices, and we saw the kind of ripple effect it had on Indian markets today. It also could undermine India's position globally and impact the sector's growth. India is known as the pharmacy of the world. Tariff-induced disruption in supply chains may cause shortage of supplies as well, and that is detrimental not just to India but to the rest of the world. Move may also accelerate Indian pharma companies' push for diversification of markets. It could also reduce future dependence on US markets. It could boost self-reliance as well.
President Trump issued an order on Thursday imposing 100% tariffs on branded or patented pharmaceutical products coming into the US. The exception that he announced would be if a company is building a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in America. The other exception, not announced, would appear to be that generic medicines are an exception, and that exception would appear to be the case given the language of the announced order that covers branded and patented drugs. And this difference could make all the difference to Indian pharmaceutical exports to the US. Pharmaceuticals have been exempted already from Trump's tariffs on India. Last year, India exported about $22 billion worth of pharmaceuticals to the US, and of that, generics comprised as much as about 83%. So if that exemption stands, then the bulk of exports to the US would continue to be spared even these new tariffs now.
Now, both the United States and European countries seem to be hinting that India's continued purchase of Russian oil is fueling Putin's war in Ukraine. In fact, today, NATO chief Mark Rutte insisted that 50% US tariffs on India has had an immediate effect on Russia, since that brought India on a phone call with Kremlin, demanding to know the strategy from here on. He had no response to being asked why the EU wasn't doing more to sanction Russia. Instead, he turned around and put the spotlight back on India. Listen in.
He already did. We have seen what he did.
Well, no, not the big ones.
The secondary sanction, the big one on India.
Yes, but I'm talking about on Russia.
Yeah, but this immediately impacts Russia, because that means that Delhi is now on the phone with Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin in Moscow, and Narendra Modi asking me, hey, I support you, but again, could you explain to me this strategy? Because I have now been hit by these 50% tariffs by the United States. So President Trump is implementing what he says.
Ministry of External Affairs has now issued a statement rejecting Mark Rutte's remarks, calling it factually incorrect and entirely baseless. The statement said, and I quote, that at no point did Prime Minister Modi speak with President Putin in the manner that the NATO chief was suggesting, that no such conversation had taken place. In fact, India also made it clear that not only should NATO exercise greater responsibility and accuracy in its public statements, but also reiterated that India's energy imports are based on a nation-first policy, that these energy imports are meant to ensure predictable and affordable energy costs to the Indian consumer, and that will continue.
We have seen statement by NATO Secretary General Mr. Mark Rutte regarding a purported phone conversation between Prime Minister of India and President Vladimir Putin of Russia. This statement, let me clarify, is factually incorrect and entirely baseless. At no point has Prime Minister Modi spoken with President Putin in the manner suggested. No such conversation has taken place. We expect the leadership of an important and esteemed institution like NATO to exercise greater responsibility and accuracy in public statements. Speculative or careless remarks that misrepresent the Prime Minister's engagement or suggest conversations that never occurred are unacceptable. As previously stated, India's energy imports are meant to ensure predictable and affordable energy cost to the Indian consumer. India will continue taking all necessary measures to safeguard its national interests and economic security.
But is Europe being hypocritical with its stance? European Union is still the largest buyer of LNG and pipeline gas from Russia. In fact, EU purchased 50% of Russia's liquefied natural gas, followed by China at 21% and Japan at 18%. As far as pipeline gas is concerned, the European Union was the largest buyer. It purchased 35% of Russia's pipeline gas, followed by China at 30% and Turkey at 28%. So why is it then that the blame is being laid squarely and solely at India's doorstep? We'll try and decode that and what the larger impact of Trump's tariffs and this tariff war will have on the world, not just on India. So let me open this up. Joining us on this broadcast is Pascal Lamy, former European Commissioner for Trade and former Director General of the World Trade Organization. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. First things first, I want to ask you about what's happened today. Donald Trump, the US president, seems to be on a warpath as far as the tariffs issue goes. We had the 25% reciprocal tariffs that kicked in. Then came the 25% secondary tariffs for buying Russian oil. And now 100% on pharmaceuticals. India is known as the pharmacy to the world. It will have some amount of impact on Indian exports. How do you read that?
Well, I'm not surprised. As we all know, Mr. Trump wrongly believes that tariffs is the most modern way to get what he wants done. So he weaponizes tariffs, or he increases tariffs because he believes this will reduce the US trade deficit. My guess is that this will not happen. The reasons behind the US trade deficit are of a macroeconomic nature. The US spend more than what they produce, and by the way, it's the reverse picture in China. So it's one more regrettable expression of his belief that tariffs are good, whether I think most reasonable economists would agree that protectionism is wrong and not right.
So then how does India sort of fight it back? You know, so far we've held our ground as far as the trade negotiations go between the two countries, because Donald Trump did hint at the fact that if those trade negotiations go the way that he wants them to go, then perhaps these tariffs would eventually come down. But that hasn't happened so far. So then how does India fight this kind of protectionist attitude that is coming in from the Trump administration?
Well, I think there are two answers to your question. The first one is where does India have leverage on the US? And there may be areas where India can exercise leverage on the US. Take, for instance, the relationship with China. And the second direction I would advise, humbly, is that India has, like all of us, big elephants in trade, like the European Union, like China. We have to look at alternatives. We have to look to diversify our trade relation. What we lose with the US, we have to try and gain elsewhere.
So then that diversification of markets, could the European Union be that? We do know that India and the European Union are engaged in negotiations over an FTA. We're hoping that that comes to fruition, maybe by the end of this year or early next year. Do you think that could be an alternative?
I think this is among the alternatives. As you know, I spent large part of my life dealing with international trade, whether as European Commissioner or whether as DG of the World Trade Organization. And I think it's no secret that India is a difficult trade partner. Negotiating any sort of trade agreement with India is an excruciating exercise for a variety of reasons, which have to do with what remains of old protectionist times in the Indian system and in the Indian economy, but this can change under new pressures, under new parameters, and the fact that Trump is obstructing so much of India's trade, whether it's on goods or on services with these H-1B1 visas, or with what he says on pharmaceuticals, although his tariffs on pharmaceuticals are mostly for branded products, whereas India exports quite a lot of generic products.
Yes.
So it may not be that bad on that side. But I think, and I speak there as a European, that given the pressure which Trump puts on EU and on India, and given that EU and India still have quite a large potential to exchange market opening where India is better than the EU and EU market opening where EU is better than India, I think the odds that something happens are much higher than in the past. They were extremely low in the past. They are now clearly higher.
So there seems to be one common enemy that we want to fight. In that sense, there could be common ground that could be found easier. Is that what you're hinting at?
Absolutely. And again, it's difficult because two sides have to open more their market and convince their domestic constituencies that that's the way to go. And this is always a difficult political exercise, including in India, which is a very large country with a lot of constituencies acting in a direction or another. So it is difficult, but the necessity to do it is higher than in the past. It's not going to be easier. But it's the reason we have to overcome the obstacle that stood in the way of a bilateral trade agreement that provides, hopefully, for the political energy leaders need to open more their economy.
But the sense here in Delhi, in India, is that India is being singled out, that as far as imports from Russia are concerned, India is not the biggest buyer of oil, China is. The European Union continues to buy from Russia, be it LNG, be it pipeline gas. So does America. So why is it that India is being levied with these 50% tariffs in all the 25% secondary tariffs being that, and now 100% on pharma, while China, who's also negotiating with the United States, has a much lesser tariff rate?
Look, again, my answer will be a European answer.
Sure.
We Europeans are not happy with the fact that the exports of oil from Russia to India have increased enormously, whereas ours have decreased enormously. We still import, that's absolutely correct, but the trend is really down to probably zero in a year or two, whereas the trend of Indian imports from Russia is clearly increasing. And for us Europeans, this is a contribution, a positive contribution to the Russian economy, and we don't like positive contribution to the Russian economy coming from India or by China, for instance, because we believe Russia is dead wrong in invading Ukraine, and we are supporting the Ukrainians to resist this aggression. So that's the first part of my answer. Second part of my answer is whether tariffs is the right way to convince India to import less oil from Russia. And on this, I think, if I may be very frank, Trump got it wrong. India, as a country, Prime Minister Modi, as an individual, is not in a culture or in a mood where such blackmail can work. So, to sum up my answer, I'm not happy with India importing more and more Russian oil because this helps Russia financing its economy. But I don't think Mr. Trump got it right in using once more tariffs as a weapon. It may work for some countries. I don't think it will work with India because India is India.
Right, and in that case, then, do you think India's being pushed further away from the United States? There was a time when the United States, several other Western powers, did see India as a counterweight to China in the region. But do you think that's going to change now, given the path that the Trump administration seems to have chosen?
I mean, the obvious answer is yes. Who did Mr. Modi join in Shenzhen with Xi Jinping are usual suspects with countries who support Russia or support Iran or support North Korea, which is not the traditional direction of India's diplomacy, who has always been to stand its own way somewhere in between China and the US. So clearly, I think the presence of Mr. Modi to this global South / China / Russia / India / North Korean gathering is a signal that if the US keep pushing this way, India will move in a direction which the US, at the end of the day, will have good reasons to regret. So that's probably a signal that the US should moderate their blackmail on India.
And that's one part of it. That's how it impacts India and how India deals with it. But do you think that this tariff war that the Trump administration seems to be on, or these policies that are coming to the fore, do you think that could completely upend global trade flows, supply chains? And if yes, then how do we deal with that?
Look, I don't buy the US narrative that Mr. Trump is reshaping global trade and revolutionizing the world trade system. The US is 13% of world imports. 13, not 13. If the remaining 87%, which is a very large proportion of world trade, remains cool-headed and does not accept to be contaminated by this protectionist disease, the US will have a problem. We will have a problem with the US. Our bilateral relationship with the US will be affected, damaged. We will lose market share in the US. But this is not the global trade system. This is the system where the US become a sort of outlier. Somewhere else, they have a very different view of how international trade works. They de facto have left the World Trade Organization. The rest of the world has to adjust to that. After all, a 20% tariff fence around the US is a change in relative prices, like the Chinese minimum wage, like the price of oil. Global market capitalism will adjust to that. This will damage the US economy, in my view, at the end of the day. Hence, it's not going to be good for the world economy because the US it may only be 13% of world import, but they are 50% of world finance, and this will have consequences on the world economy. But we have to remain steady in our view that overall, opening trade is the right way to go. And again, what we lose with the US, we have to try to gain together in partnering with new trade agreements, whether global or whether regional or whether bilateral.
Right, so that diversification is important. One last thing before I let you go. India is projected to reach a 5 trillion economy GDP by 2027. We're not very far from that goal. It could well be the world's third largest economy in another 2 years. But given that, and given the fact that when and if that happens, India would be at the center of this global economic dynamic, if you were to advise the Indian government, the Indian Trade Ministry today, what would your recommendation be? How do we navigate this protectionist environment that we're seeing so that both the short-term and the long-term impacts are mitigated?
Again, if I may, there is no global protectionism. There is no global protectionist environment. There is a protectionist country which used not to be protectionist, which is the United States of America. This disease is not contaminating EU, Africa, China, India, the Middle East, Indonesia, the ASEAN countries, and so on. This being said, I think what you said about the future of the Indian economy, its size and its dynamism is well known. This means that India will become a more attractive market, and this will provide India with ammunition to negotiate more market opening in the rest of the world because of its own attractiveness. I'm well placed to do that. When I was European Trade Commissioner, the EU was, and remained, by the way, the largest domestic market and the deepest domestic market. That creates friends. They want to have a bit of this big pie. And given that the Indian pie is growing quickly and in many areas, India will be better placed to negotiate more trade opening, provided, of course, that the Indian system adjusts to this new reality, and that, for instance, the cost of doing business in India is reduced. If I'm attracted by your market, that's one thing. I will consider exporting to India or establishing an operation in India. But if the cost of doing that, because of hyper-regulation, because of bureaucratic complexities, because of regional differences is too high, I won't do that. So India is acquiring a good lever. It has to make attracting the Indian market more easily. So
we will have that leverage.
Is business. That's, I think, the way to go.
We would have that leverage, and we do hope that better sense prevails on the US president and his administration for India's sake, for the sake of the rest of the world as well. But Pascal Lamy, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18.
My pleasure.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Shifting focus now to some more breaking news that's coming in. What we're learning via our sources is that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to be in India next month. This is his first visit to India after he took over as the Prime Minister. We're given to understand that this invitation was extended by Prime Minister Modi himself to the British Prime Minister, to his counterpart. Based on that particular invitation that was extended by Prime Minister Modi, we're learning that Keir Starmer is expected to be in India soon. Siddhant, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details. Yes, Siddhant.
Well, that's right. So we've been told that dates are almost finalized. In fact, they are in the last stage of finalization. But in all likelihood, British Prime Minister will visit India early second week of October. This is what we've been told. In fact, this is going to be his first visit to India after becoming the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. Prime Minister Modi extended invitation to British Prime Minister at the time of FTA signing in London. And in fact, both leaders met at the G20 in Brazil. Then both leaders also met at G7 summit in Cananaskis. In fact, on 6th of May, this year, both countries announced the free trade agreement, and in fact now Then there was the signing of official signing of the agreement, and now British Prime Minister is going to undertake his first official visit to India next month.
Right. Siddhant, thank you so much for getting us the latest.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Shifting focus now to some more breaking news that's coming in. What we're learning via our sources is that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to be in India next month. This is his first visit to India after he took over as the Prime Minister. We're given to understand that this invitation was extended by Prime Minister Modi himself to the British Prime Minister, to his counterpart. Based on that particular invitation that was extended by Prime Minister Modi, we're learning that Keir Starmer is expected to be in India soon. Siddhant, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details. Yes, Siddhant. Former FBI Director James Comey, a longtime target of President Donald Trump, was indicted on charges of making false statements to the Congress and obstructing a federal investigation. The Justice Department has said that this indictment underscored its commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable. In fact, FBI Director Kash Patel added that the agency was taking another step in its promise of full accountability. But is the Trump administration's campaign against its detractors going one step too far? That's a question many are asking. Will there be others? That's something that some others are asking. So what exactly transpired and what comes next? Here's the full story.
Donald Trump has finally done it. After years of public demands and personal vendettas, his Justice Department has indicted former FBI Director James Comey, one of Trump's longest and loudest critics. The charges include making false statements and obstructing a congressional proceeding. This is the clearest signal yet of how Trump is using the justice system to go after his enemies.
It seems like an indictment of James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI.
The indictment stems from Comey's 2020 testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
How could the director of the FBI not know all of this? How is it possible that the system gathers so much exculpatory information, this internet room recording the CIA, that the actual interview of the subsource disavows the reliability document, that the actual subsource was a suspected Russian spy? How could all that happen and not get up to you, the director of the FBI, of one of the most important investigations in the history of the FBI? How is that possible?
I can only speculate because it didn't. And as I said, the investigation overall was incredibly important. The piece you're focused on is obviously important, but a much smaller slice.
Pressed by Senator Ted Cruz, Comey insisted he has never authorized leaks to the press.
In this committee, Chairman Grassley asked you point blank, quote, "Have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?" You responded under oath, quote, "Never." He then asked you, quote, "Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration?" You responded again under oath, "No." Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal and that you were directly aware of it and that you directly authorized it. Now,
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Sonam Wangchuk. They will just keep him in this indefinite purgatory, and that's their model. And then they'll send these BJP people. They'll say this guy was doing something on Nepal. This guy was doing something with ISI. This guy was doing something with China. These people are doing something with international NGOs. That is what they do every time. But nobody will answer. Why did you promise? I asked this question to the gentleman sitting right in front of us. Why did they promise in their manifesto to the people of Ladakh that the 6th schedule of the Constitution would be applied to Ladakh? Please answer that.
But they're not saying that they won't. There are negotiations that are currently underway on that front.
No. Sorry. No. This is absolutely wrong. What negotiations? BJP promised something. Congress supports it. The people of Ladakh want it. What negotiations? Tell me. What negotiations?
Pradeep Bhandari?
Mr. Soos, had you understood the art of negotiation, you would have given the UT status after 70 years being in power. You do not understand the art of negotiation. You only understand the art of negotiation with terrorists like Yasin Malik and Hafiz Saeed. That's what you are very good at doing. So do not lecture us. And I will again reiterate, yes, you are an anti-national party because the terrorists like Hafiz Saeed calls you their ideological mentor. So please, Mr. Soos.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Sonam Wangchuk. They will just keep him in this indefinite purgatory, and that's their model. And then they'll send these BJP people. They'll say this guy was doing something on Nepal. This guy was doing something with ISI. This guy was doing something with China. These people are doing something with international NGOs. That is what they do every time. But nobody will answer. Why did you promise? I asked this question to the gentleman sitting right in front of us. Why did they promise in their manifesto to the people of Ladakh that the 6th schedule of the Constitution would be applied to Ladakh? Please answer that.
But they're not saying that they won't. There are negotiations that are currently underway on that front.
No. Sorry. No. This is absolutely wrong. What negotiations? BJP promised something. Congress supports it. The people of Ladakh want it. What negotiations? Tell me. What negotiations?
Pradeep Bhandari?
Mr. Soos, had you understood the art of negotiation, you would have given the UT status after 70 years being in power. You do not understand the art of negotiation. You only understand the art of negotiation with terrorists like Yasin Malik and Hafiz Saeed. That's what you are very good at doing. So do not lecture us. And I will again reiterate, yes, you are an anti-national party because the terrorists like Hafiz Saeed calls you their ideological mentor. So please, Mr. Soos.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Sonam Wangchuk. They will just keep him in this indefinite purgatory, and that's their model. And then they'll send these BJP people. They'll say this guy was doing something on Nepal. This guy was doing something with ISI. This guy was doing something with China. These people are doing something with international NGOs. That is what they do every time. But nobody will answer. Why did you promise? I asked this question to the gentleman sitting right in front of us. Why did they promise in their manifesto to the people of Ladakh that the 6th schedule of the Constitution would be applied to Ladakh? Please answer that.
But they're not saying that they won't. There are negotiations that are currently underway on that front.
No.
Viewers, the centre has drawn a firm line in the shifting sands of Ladakh today, 2 days after the centre accused Sonam Wangchuk of inciting a Gen Z-style riot in Leh. The activist was arrested early evening. Wangchuk has been arrested under some of the most stringent acts of the BNHS, viewers. And the principal charge is that he allegedly conspired to disturb the peace. Wangchuk might have had an inkling because he was widely reported to have called for a press conference at around 2:30 in the mid-afternoon but didn't show up. Tongue started wagging, viewers, and subsequently the news of his arrest was announced, and he is not expected to remain in Leh. He's expected to be flown out of there. Viewers, his arrest, however, has triggered a number of prominent members of the opposition and the so-called civil rights activists in the Congress-aligned ecosystem. Many of them have come out and slammed the Modi government for stamping out dissent, if you please, on account of its insecurity. Omar Abdullah, JMU and Kashmir Chief Minister, has come out and said, and I quote, had the Congress been so powerful that it could cause riots in Ladakh, why didn't the party form the council in October 2020? Who won the last council elections in Ladakh? The BJP. While the Congress lost badly, when things go wrong, the BJP always comes up with excuses. Arvind Kejriwal says,